If you look at times now versus 5 years ago, people are getting so many more emails, so many more communication messages, not just in their inbox, but Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. How many places are there for people to get messages and communication from? It's so many, it's overwhelming. So why should people be getting all the messages out there that aren't relevant for them?
Today we have Neil Patel, who is the co-founder of Crazy Egg and Hello Bar. He helps companies like Amazon, NBC, GM, HP, and Viacom grow their revenue. The Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web. Forbes says he's one of the top 10 online marketers, and Entrepreneur magazine says he created one of the 100 most brilliant companies in the world. He was recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama, and one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under the age of 35 by the United Nations. He's also been awarded the congressional recognition from the United States of the House of Representatives. Thanks so much for being here, Neil.
Thank you for having me.
That's quite a list of accomplishments.
Thank
President Obama, huh?
I never met him.
No, damn. So let's just jump right in. What do you think is your unique skill set, and how has that contributed to your success?
I'm really good at executing fast.
Interesting. That's not what I thought you'd say.
And because I execute so fast, I can go through so many different marketing techniques, strategies, business concepts, and figure out what works really quickly or what doesn't work.
So interesting. I would have guessed that you were going to say that I've got a mind for marketing or copy, or I know what.
I do. But a lot of people have that, right?
Yeah.
What I found is no matter what you're doing, if you can't just get shit done, like execute really fast and learn from it and have a decent version of whatever you're executing at, nothing ever gets done.
Yeah, that's so interesting. We've just kind of been ramping up our own kind of like marketing team in the last year, and we found the same thing, that the difference between success and failure is just being able to move quickly and iterate fast and try a bunch of things, because like most of what we do fails, but as long as we are like doing a lot of it, we find the things that work.
That's right. It was funny when I was talking to the audience earlier today. And they were talking about, the biggest mistake people make. And I'm like, you guys are using emails, marketing automation, etc. I bet a lot of them are worrying about copy. I'm like, just get the sequence right. Just execute on it. Throw something out there. Because you'll be better off doing that than trying to make it perfect and then taking it like 3 months. Like if someone signs up for Ontraport, why should it take them more than 30 days to get up and running and sending out emails? It's not that hard to use. It's really easy. So the issue is people aren't executing, they're perfectionists, and then once things start working out, go perfect it later on, but just execute, figure out how to make something work at the beginning.
Why do you think people get stuck on perfection?
It's because they're afraid of what others will think. Right? So for example, if they're like, oh, I put something out there and it's not perfect, people are gonna judge me. Well, you know what? People forgive and forget. You're judging yourself. You're your worst critic, right? Most people don't care about those little errors or mistakes. They forgive and forget. If you say sorry when you make a mistake, everyone's like, cool, thank you, no worries.
So just let it go. It's one of the, like a little bit of the thick skin as an entrepreneur. If you're going to be out there, you gotta be able to take the heat.
Thick skin is one, but the biggest issue is people are afraid of what's going to happen when others judge them. Most people are kind. They're not going to say anything bad. They forgive and forget. Right? It's like, you don't even have to have a thick skin. It's just if you do something, the worst that can happen is usually you're going to be in the same position you were before. So might as well go out there and try something.
Good. So how long have you been working on, how long have you been in business? You have so many businesses, it doesn't even make sense to ask you how long you're in your current business.
I started when I was 16, so 31, 15 years.
15 years. And what is working right now best to bring customers to your primary businesses?
So capture emails, right? You can do pop-ups, sliders, modals, etc. Put it into marketing solutions like automation, Ontraport, etc. Then from there, send them to a landing page where they watch a webinar. The webinar educates the prospect on the major issues that they're having within their business. So for example, let's keep it simple. If someone is selling accounting services, right? They have a website that's on accounting or a blog. They collect emails, pass them through Ontraport. From there, you nurture them, send them a few educational pieces of information.
Yeah.
Then you ask them to register for a webinar. The webinar teaches them basic accounting principles, how most people are making mistakes, where they're paying too much in taxes, how they can save money, how their books could be more efficient.
Yep.
And then after 30, 40 minutes of education, it pitches them on the product or service that they offer. And then it shows them a buy button where they can purchase or sign up. Like, that is the number one way and best converting way that we're seeing people making sales online right now.
So this is interesting because we actually talked about this offline last week, and you said pretty much exactly the same thing in that exact same way that makes it sound so simple. And that, you know, our experience is that it's actually harder than that. We've tried webinars and they just haven't worked for us. And what was sort of enlightening to me is that when we were on the phone, you said everything you just said, and then at the end you said kind of like offhandedly, you know, and by the way, this is going to take you 3 or 4 or 5 months to figure out how to get this right. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, 4 or 5 months? Like, that's where we're going wrong, is that we're trying like once or twice and it's like not working, and we're like, webinars don't work.
Yeah, and that's where execution comes into play, right? So think of it this way, you do a webinar, there's chat in the webinar. People will give you feedback.
Yeah.
You take the feedback you're getting, because when you blast out your email list, you'll get people to sign up. Or customers existing, you can just ask them for feedback, even your current customers. Hey, what do you think about this webinar? What's wrong? What would you like to see change?
Yeah.
It takes months, because if you do one new variation a month, it takes 4 to 5 months before it's streamlined and it's working well.
Right. So you just got to keep trying, keep at it. It will work.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so as entrepreneurs, we learn so much, through our experiences, not just split testing, but just growing businesses and being people in charge of these organizations. And for me, anyway, I think a lot about how different things would have been if I kind of knew then what I know now. What advice would you give yourself if you could like whisper in your ear 15 years ago that would have made the biggest difference?
Focus. I have too much ADD and I have created too many companies. If I created 1 or 2, let's say 3 max over my years, I would have had a much bigger business.
Interesting. So most of us don't start business after business after business, but do you think that advice, just like focusing, applies to those of us who are like actually only doing one business?
Well, if you're even doing one business, it still applies. The reason being is, if you look at most businesses, when things start working, what do? They try to expand. They try to add new product lines, features, upsells, downsells. They expand into different businesses. So the guy who taught me this was Brian Lee, the co-founder of ShoeDazzle, Honest Company, and LegalZoom.
3 businesses.
And I interviewed him while he was at LegalZoom. This was a long time ago. I don't know him, it was just over email. And what he was saying is, most companies, when they start doing well and get traction, they lose focus on the core product or service that got them there. So LegalZoom was creating, like the corporations for you, the docs, legal entities, in mass quantity. Then he said, we're trying to do like business in a box, and they tried these other things, and I could be butchering, his words, because it was many years ago when he told me this, but they tried other experiments. When things are going good, why would you try doing that when you can double down on your core business and be the biggest in that category? And then what he taught me is, once your growth starts plateauing and slowing down and it's flat and you can't figure out how to grow more, that's when you expand and introduce other product lines and upsells and downsells, etc. Because that's what's going to give you more growth again.
That's like the opposite of the way most people do it.
That's correct.
Interesting.
And he's done well, right? LegalZoom is probably $500 million to $1 billion company. Honest Company is $1 billion. ShoeDazzle, he raised a few $100 million. It did really well, and then it slowed down, right? Doesn't have 100% batting average, but he does way better than almost every entrepreneur out there.
Yeah, so listen to him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So so that's kind of like what you've learned, one of the things you've learned over the course of history. What's next for you? What do you want to learn next?
Just how to fine-tune marketing. So my big thing right now is marketing automation, and I'm trying to figure out how to plug in marketing automation with phone sales. And it started to work well. Not like you send people an email and you get them on the phone. We're doing really interesting stuff where someone watches a webinar, because to watch a webinar, we collect your phone number. And then if you've seen the product, you've gone almost all the way through the webinar, but you didn't buy, we get the phone number, and then the next day we'll text you like, Mike, ? and then we'll start engaging with them and start texting back and forth and closing sales over the phone and engaging based on how far they've gone throughout the funnel, due to the fact that we don't just collect emails, we're also collecting phone
Cell
numbers
phones.
as well.
So you're literally getting your sales team texting back and forth with these clients, and then trying
Potential customers, yes.
Or sorry, prospects, and then trying to drive them to a live phone conversation.
Yes, and then close them over the phone.
And then close them over the phone. And is that working?
It's working out really well.
Interesting that
like 15-20% of the revenue is coming from that.
Whoa. Interesting that somebody who is known as, one of the world's greatest marketers, next thing to learn is marketing.
Yeah, it's never stopping. I believe there's always more techniques. I can believe someone's been doing marketing for 1 month and they can teach me a new tactic that I've never thought about or even tried.
Yeah.
You can learn from anyone. It doesn't matter who they are or what their experience is.
How many people are in your company right now?
Between all of them, I don't know, maybe like 150?
150? And how many marketing tests do you feel like you run a month?
Maybe like 30, 40?
30 or 40. Like every day somebody's trying something else. Yeah.
We have so many sites and properties and
Yeah.
ad campaigns. Right? We're just testing so many things.
Constantly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. How do you train your people to be effective testers?
So we tell everyone, gut feeling is awesome and it's one thing. And if you have intuition, you have a lot of experience within this space, you should use your gut feeling, but you should always consistently rely on the numbers.
Yeah.
So make sure the numbers, quantitative and qualitative, are going up and to the right. Quantitative more so up and to the right.
Yeah.
Qualitative, you're getting feedback,
Good
right?
feedback,
Like surveying, etc. So everyone is data driven.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, I want to do this ad image because it looks better and the image of you is way better. Or, hey, when we're doing Facebook video ads, I want to do professional quality because it looks the best, it shows we're professional. But you know what? People may resonate with the person who's pulling out their phone and just snapping a selfie video, I don't know what it's called, and just shooting on their iPhone like a 5-minute clip.
Yep.
And people have different opinions, but why not test it and see where the data goes?
Yeah, so that's just built into your culture.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've been at it for 15 years. You've obviously had a ton of financial success. Do you think about your legacy and what you'd like to have that be as you kind of 30 years from now?
So I just want to be the guy who helps other people succeed with their marketing online. I suck at offline marketing. I just want to help people succeed with marketing. I don't care if they pay me. I don't care if they hate me. If people just read stuff from me, because there's so much free stuff, and they learn and they implement it in their business and they're better off, I'm happy.
Yeah. Awesome. I have to ask you one other question that I wanted to ask in there. You talked a little bit about it, but I think you, more than any other email that shows up in my inbox, feels like you have some kind of mind reading capability, because literally every email that comes through is exactly the thing that I want to be reading right now. And I don't even read them all myself, but they're what my company needs, and so I'll forward them to the right person in my company. It happens I'd say 30% of the emails you send me, I'm you need to read this, or somebody consume this information. It's how the hell do you do that?
Qualitative. So we do a ton of qualitative research, data gathering, right? Like surveying and asking people what do they want to read, feedback from emails, conferences, just talking to potential customers, and that'll help us determine our content calendar on what we should be writing about.
So you just email out with questions, just a text field, tell me what you want to read, or
or we pop up surveys on our website, like a Survey Monkey, and then just getting people to be we want you to blog about this. And then you look at the clouds, right? Because they cloud based on words and tell you what's the most common thing that people are typing in.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it.
That makes me feel so non-unique.
Okay. But when you get the emails personalized, so it makes you feel unique. Just imagine you've never heard this.
So we've called this series Modern Entrepreneur. What do you think it means to you to be a modern entrepreneur?
I think it's all about being more efficient and streamlined.
Efficient and streamlined.
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of the old ways that people are doing things, it's just so inefficient.
Yeah.
For example, how people communicated with their customers. It was done so poorly 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
In what way?
Just how like when you send messages, who you're supposed to be sending messages to. Now, think about you guys. You guys have been around for how many years?
10, this is our 10th year.
Okay, 10th year. I bet you the product, if you look at your product 5 years ago, right, just being blunt, I bet you internally look at your product 5 years ago and be like, that was shit compared to what it is today.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Probably even a year ago, you keep seeing major changes,
Oh, yeah.
right? But think about how people would communicate with their customers. I remember we used to send emails 4 or 5 years ago, and if someone took action on that email, we would still send everything to the list with the same email again or a different version of it.
Yeah.
There was no segmentation. There was no sending unique messages if someone clicked and they were more engaged versus people who weren't engaged, right? Like nothing was segmented.
Yeah.
Everything is streamlined these days.
And that just to you today looks ridiculous.
It's crazy because what you guys are doing, right? And if you look at the whole space in general, the amount of customers you guys have, your Inc. numbers are public, right? Your revenue numbers, and you guys are doing an amazing job. But think about how many more companies out there aren't using any solution in your space, not just you guys.
Like 99% of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's still the old school way of thinking. It's more inefficient. They're making less money because of it. Their customers are getting a worse experience because of it, right? It's all done wrong, not just on the business end, but even on the customer end. They don't want it that way. I don't want to be continually getting messages that aren't relevant for me.
Yeah.
Why? That's just silly. You're clouding up my inbox, right? You're just wasting my space. Eventually, I'm going to put those emails into spam.
Yeah. So for you, it's about really being conscious of the customer's experience and getting really super relevant and creating experiences that matter to individuals rather than what kind of like the message you want to just be blasting out as an organization.
That's correct, because if you look at times now versus 5 years ago, people are getting so many more emails, so many more communication messages, not just in their inbox, but Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. How many places are there for people to get messages and communication from?
So many.
It's so many. It's overwhelming.
Yep.
So why should people be getting all the messages out there that aren't relevant for them?
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Where's our pen? Here it is. Will you sign our wall?
Yes, I will.
Thank
sign
you.
your wall.
I'm a big believer that the quickest way to make sale online is through webinars. So I like doing webinars.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it gives people the chance to kind of see who you are
Yep.
and to see what kind of content you deliver.